This is Renee Romeo, and today you're joining me in my father-in-law's kitchen as I get ready to make my nephew's wedding cake. So this is going to be a 12-layer, 3-tiered cake, and all I'm going to show you here is just how to frost it and really put it all together. I have a 12-inch Lazy Susan that'll allow me to turn the cake as I go. I have some non-slit padding that I'm placing on top of that. And then I have a 12-inch plastic disc, and this usually accepts columns for layered cakes, but instead of doing them upwards, I'm flipping this down so that I have access underneath this piece to actually lift the cake out and move it around as needed. I have 4 layers here, so it's a 2-layer cake that I've cut in half into 4 pieces, and I'm just going to go ahead and start with the first layer. And now what you need to do, this has been in the freezer, so this is a semi-frozen cake at this point. And I've gone ahead and I've made some white frosting. Now white frosting is different than buttercream. This does not have any butter in it. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a thin coat on this disc for the bottom. And the reason why I'm doing that is because anytime that you're putting a cake on top of a disc like this, you want to adhere it as well as you can so that it doesn't move around during transportation. And that looks really good, and I'm just going to press it down into place. So from this point, I'd like to get about a 1/4 inch of frosting in between each one of these layers. And this is just a white frosting. It's got some lemon zest in it, just to give it a little bit of extra zest. This is a lemon cake, and it's just going to be a nice, light, airy, fresh tasting cake in the end. And I'll take an offset spatula just like this, really large one, and I'll go ahead and just get it nice and even all along the top before I put the next layer on. And here goes the 4th and final layer on the bottom tier. Perfect. And now I'm going to do a very light skim coat over the whole top of the cake and the sides. And I'll put it back in the refrigerator to sit until it really firms up, and that way it gives me a nice base for the actual finished frosting that goes over the top. So I'll show you exactly how I do this. I take a small offset spatula, and it's really, honestly, just a very thin coat just to give it a nice firm surface so that you don't get any cake specks in the finished frosting. Then you'll take your large offset spatula and you're just going to run it all along the edge, getting it nice and even. So it doesn't have to look pretty, it just has to be even at this point. And all you're doing is making sure you're covering every single speck of cake surface so that you don't get bleed through into your final finished frosting. So I have another plastic cake base for the next layer. Now the next layer is a 9-inch cake, but this is a 10-inch base, and I do have a reason for that. I'm going to be following all these little scallops with a nice little dollop of icing. This also has the bases for the columns, but again, I'm going to flip this over and this will go right into the cake beneath it. And it also gives me a nice place to put my fingers so that I can go ahead and lift this and really manipulate it on top of that base layer. So that goes down. Again, you start with a little bit of icing. Ooh, and one thing I forgot. You have to drill a hole in the middle of this because I'm pushing a dowel all the way through all 3 tiers. And so it has to be just a little bit larger than the dowel that you're using. So make sure you do that before you go ahead and put your cake on, otherwise you're going to have a problem getting this to stay together. So go ahead and put that little glue layer down on the bottom base. And these are not fresh. These are, I want to say that. These are stale, Carl. You were right.
Mediocre.
So for the top tier, this is a 6-inch cake round, and there's a perforated section in the middle, and that's where your dowel is going to go. So go ahead and pop that out. And then you're going to do this little glue surface on the white side of the cardboard just to adhere the bottom cake to the cardboard itself. And here's a close-up of the zest that's in the icing. And you'll see it is a bright white color, but with little flecks of yellow. I'm getting ready to do the final layer of bright white icing. So I treat every layer individually. So I have my bottom layer ready. I've mixed up a batch of bright white icing, and this does not have zest in it. It's just pure bright white frosting, and the recipe will be available for that at the end of the video, so stay tuned. But let me just explain to you why I need to be a little bit careful with the icing here. This cake is going in a barn. It's going to be 88 degrees the day of the wedding. So I really do need to make sure that I'm not using anything with dairy, that I'm not using anything that has like a cream filling in the middle, because it will spoil. I've heard about cakes just sliding over due to the heat. So this is done with a shortening base, and you absolutely need that if you have to go into a hot environment. You need something that's going to hold up. I've gone ahead and I've stacked my second cake on here, and I've cut a level of dowel from the bottom plastic piece on the bottom of the bottom cake up to the very top of the cake. And I've put 6 of them in all the way around, and then I've simply placed the second layer on top. And so what I'm going to do is demonstrate how I put the other dowels in this cake just along the edges, and it's just to support this 6-inch cake. It doesn't have to be terribly numerous to support this. So all I have here is just this bright white frosting. I'm just going to go ahead and make a nice thick coat, at least 1/4 of an inch on the top and on the sides, because you do need to have that beautiful decorative edge going all the way around the cake, and you do need a thicker coating for that in order to get that to show up nice and crisp. So here we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and start smoothing this out. So now I have this really great edging tool, and what I'm going to do is I have frosting on the top of the second layer, and I have frosting along the sides of the top layer. So I'm just going to put the bottom edge and try to take care of the top and the sides of the L at the same time. So you'll kind of see here how I'm going to drag this across. So let's go. And again, I have it on a turntable, so it's going to really help. So I'm just going around the edges just to clean it up a little bit. And when you use that tool along the edges, it's really a good idea to hold it at an angle instead of straight onto the cake. It smooths it out so much better. And it's all in place. So you'll see that I have the top layer done, the bottom layer sides are done, and I'm going to work on cleaning up the middle layer. So the first thing that I need to do is go ahead and even out the tops, either adding a little bit more icing to them or subtracting. Okay, so I have my dowel cut a little bit higher than the cake, so I'm just going to insert it in the middle. It's going to go through the hole in the cardboard, then through the hole in the plastic, and then reaching all the way to the bottom of the cake. There we go. Now don't worry about this. This is what you're going to hang on to in the car as you drive this to the location. Flowers are going on the top. It's going to completely hide the top of the dowel, so don't worry about it. I need to put this back in the refrigerator and just cool off this frosting just a little bit more to get a nice crisp line. I'm on day 3, and sometimes it takes a little bit of patience to get things to be aligned perfectly. But you'll see I have everything nice and even out all along the edges, and I'm getting ready to pipe all the little dots that go all along each layer. So I have a large piping bag outfitted with a large round tip, and I'm just going to go ahead and get started all along the bottom. And it really is helpful to have one of these Lazy Susans in place so that you can go ahead one after the other. And you're just going to lay it and pull up like so. So you'll see the piping is all done. I'm going to go ahead at this point and put it back in the refrigerator just to let things set up a little bit before I put the flowers on. So I've decided to use silk flowers to decorate the cake, and the reason why is because it's a very warm day that the wedding is going to be occurring on, and I want to make sure that the flowers are going to hold up just fine. And I've also decided not to do gum paste flowers because based on my calculation, it's about 60 hours worth of time to get these kinds of flowers done in gum paste. So silk flowers are a great alternative. So prep is everything. So I've got my 2 flours, I've got my wax paper circle, and I've got my bubble tea straw that I inserted everything into so that nothing touches the cake and no one's going to be eating anything associated with this flour. So all I'm going to do is just visualize this and keep, going as I go. I don't really have a huge plan here, but let's go ahead with the first one and insert it. It goes in very easily. So I'm putting a baby rose in now just to get this a little bit tighter in here and to get some more greenery showing. And then I'll just insert this. And so you'll see I've got a little gap in here, and I'm just going to go ahead and put a little piece of greenery in and insert the bubble straw. So this is an asymmetrical design, so we're not doing everything, side to side equally. I'm going to put a cluster of flowers over here on the side, and I'm just going to go ahead and get that started. Just like so. Just like so. Okay, and then small one in the side. And here I've taken just a little toothpick and some saran wrap, and I'm going to go ahead and just insert it into the side of the cake so it drapes over just a little bit. Well, this is the cake that almost wasn't. It has survived so many traumatic experiences I can't even begin to tell you. So patience, patience, patience. Sometimes that's what you need when you're cake decorating. So you'll see, this is just gorgeous. Is it perfect? No, but it's perfect enough. And I know that my nephew and new niece are going to love it. And I enjoyed making it despite all of the obstacles. This is Renee Romeo. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm going to show you what this looks like all set up at the event.
You're the one